It's Tuesday, October 29th, and you're listening to the Beer Temple Podcast.
Remember, this is what we wanted. Remember, this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again. Remember, this is what we wanted. Remember, this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again.
Hello. Welcome to the Beer Temple Podcast. I am your very excited co-host, Chris Quinn, and I am joined by a slightly less excited co-host, Mike Shalal.
They said a Grand Slam, so that's exciting.
They being
the Yankees.
Oh, the Yankees. Okay, that's right. It's Game 4 of
Game 4 of the World Series.
Yes.
And I'm pulling a Chris, which is I got it on the second screen.
Yeah, I have it on this. Really, for you, it's the screen.
It is the screen.
How are you? How have you been?
Good. We're almost done operating out of Beguile, but we still have some stuff there. So tomorrow is the last day of actually bottling there. Mm-hmm. And today I got to figure out all the stuff that I didn't realize was at different locations when I drove back and forth between Beguile and our brewery about 8 times.
Okay.
Bringing kegs one way or the other way, or just being a moron. Generally, disorganized moron.
Are you going to have a date yet, or no? You would never say that.
A date for what? When we're brewing for the first time?
Yeah.
I don't know yet. Hopefully next week.
Oh, okay.
We could cobble it together. There's some stuff that we should have to really brew correctly, but it's rustic. I mean, a lot of stuff that should be hard piped that we just use hoses right now.
Oh.
So not like anything safety related.
Okay. Or quality related.
No.
Long-term.
No, just
efficiency.
Correct ways to get water from one place to another rather than being like, well, what if I connect 6 of these hoses?
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And we got a full house.
Very
in more ways than one.
Mm-hmm.
It's the first time we've had the Fade Master here in quite a while.
Big Daddy Fade is back.
Yeah, Big Daddy Fade, exactly. So the quality of the recording should be much better.
Yeah.
Which I've been told, we could use a little bit. I was told
we're too old school for.
I feel that we. I've heard that we feel less modern than some other.
Was that about that wasn't about the audio quality though. That was just about our general demeanor and format.
Well, I think I should probably mention what we're talking about.
That's
so
right.
I have some bad news for everyone out there. We did not repeat as the best beer podcast at the North American Guild of Beer Writers Awards.
That's true. Yeah, we didn't do that. We didn't. Does it count as a repeat if you don't submit for 4 years?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we've submitted. This is the second time we submitted. The first time we won.
Right.
This was the second time. It was probably a lot more than 4. Honestly, I don't know how many years ago. It might have been double that. Who knows?
It's been a while, as Stained would say.
It's been a while, and it's funny, you don't change a single thing, and then here some would say it's got that classic sound. They say we felt less modern than other entries. So.
We sounded more like a radio show, which
we are. Thanks to WLPN for having us on 105.5 FM.
And their fearless leaders.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So thank you for we are a radio show.
Yeah, I think they want us to do some more true crime related stuff to be more like a podcast.
Yes.
And have some a MailChimp ad or something. Maybe it's because we don't have we don't have a gambling sponsorship.
Yeah.
Is that why they think it sounds old school?
Yeah, I think we need gambling.
Yeah, we
need DraftKings. Yeah. Maybe some hymns in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So points well taken. They said we did have a great track record of success and very solid beer expertise.
There we go.
Yeah.
Those are nice things.
It said our format was somewhat loose, and that leads to some
isn't.
drifting and rambling.
I don't know what they're talking about.
I don't know about either. Anyway, how the Yankees doing?
As I was talking to you,
drifting and rambling,
I switched away from the screen just so I would be focused on you. But they are they're winning.
Okay, good.
I mean, this game they're down by 3.
Right.
So it's not the best.
See, there's a perfect example. I start out with the joke about rambling, and we legitimately drift and ramble.
Yeah.
So, congrats to the winners of the NAGBW awards, and thanks for the feedback.
We will take none of it into consideration as we move forward.
The person who gave me, I don't know if it was their feedback, but listen to this list of accomplishments. Okay, talk about somebody who's worthy of critiquing. They are a culinary historian, a NAGBW awards coordinator, a Terra Madre Salone del Gusto sponsored delegate, a Slow Foods USA slow beverage craft. All right, they're a slow beverage, I guess. They're a education committee co-chair and conference committee member for the Craft Maltsters Guild, certified BJCP, beer, mead, and cider judge, certified Cicerone, an ACA certified cider guide, an AFNA beer certified, a KCBS certified barbecue judge, an OMG certified oyster specialist, and an IACP cookbook judge.
And the NICP, the Insane Clown Posse, as well.
Yeah, ICP that was the first one.
Yeah.
They did. So next time we'll bribe them with Faygo.
That's too many.
Some would say not enough. Apparently, I have a feeling this person would say not enough. So anyway, I'm sure we're getting in their good graces by going over all this stuff right now in public.
Of course.
It's pretty old school of us.
It is. Doxing them.
Yeah, but we're not doxing. I don't think we have the power to dox
No, we're
them.
not doxing them.
But yeah, Dave Infante from
Fingers.
He's
great.
He won, and Belgian Smock came in second. Another
Teaser
great one.
for one of our episodes coming up.
Yes,
right?
Exactly.
In that we will have Brandon on the show.
Yeah, and then we will submit
that
episode for the awards next year.
It's like a
What are they gonna
crossover
do?
episode.
What are they going to do?
Yeah, they can't say no.
Yeah,
Win first and second place.
Exactly. So anyway, just wanted to start out with a little bit of sad news. We wanted to mic drop and go two-peat and then
Two-peat.
yeah. Isn't that the correct terminology? Two-peating.
Yes, I think that's it.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah. So here we are. We got a full house. We should probably get to it rather than ramble and drift. I did kind of want to ramble and drift on purpose, just a little bit. Doesn't take a lot. Yeah. But we have a full house here, an old school round table, so to speak, and we should probably get right into it, right? So we'll start introducing the guests. We have a peanut gallery who will remain mostly nameless, I think, for right now. Might get referred to, but we're just going the people with mics in front of them and headphones, and we're going to go in order of seniority the way we always do. Pretty clear-cut senior member here. We've got Mr. Pat Berger. How are you?
I'm good. How's it going, Chris?
Good.
I'm glad you finally got the pronunciation right on my name. And
I write it here phonetically now. I used to just have the spelling, but now it's phonetics too.
Good.
How are you?
And after that, I think you're a shoo-in next year for the Northern Beer Writers. What was it that you lost?
North American Guild of Beer Writers Award for Best General Beer Podcast.
Shoo-in now, I think, that after that intro.
Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty
It's a travesty
confident
that you didn't win that. I'm I'm reeling over here.
Yeah, I know. The good thing is that somebody taught me long ago. They say if you ever win anything, just don't ever put the year that you won it. Just say that you won it and claim that you won it forever because it's always right.
Yeah, that's what you did with the Kaiser Tiger curling,
That's
which
true.
you didn't show up to last year.
That is true.
But you can't repeat if you don't show up. By the way, it's repeat, not two-peat. I just want to make
First
that
of
clear
all-
for the before you get a letter
But here's the thing.
in the mail.
It's like this weekend when the wide receiver for I think it was the Steelers. He got 2 feet in, but it was the same foot. He got down twice, and then his other foot never landed, so it wasn't a proper catch.
Sounds almost physically impossible.
Right. Well, he got nailed after he
Gotcha.
landed. So I think of a repeat as winning back to back. We were going for a kind of like a 5, 6, 7 year absence in between them, thus the two-peat rather than a repeat.
Right.
So we're going for a two-peat in curling too. So I'll see you in a couple of years.
All right.
We'll come
you're
back.
Right. I guess that would be a
And
two-peat.
historically, if it keeps with how we do, we won't even place.
Yeah.
So
You'll have a really old school curling method that they will not be appreciated by the modern game.
exactly.
Yeah.
It'll drift.
Yeah, drift a little bit.
What's up with you, man? How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, just getting by. Everything's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had an 80-degree day today. It was a little unnerving, but
Terrifying, yeah.
Some people were
Pretty
ready for
great.
it. I wasn't. Some people were in straight up shorts and a t-shirt. You're in a t-shirt. I don't know. I just have my fall gear, and I don't really whip out the summer stuff anymore. So
Yeah.
unless it's a full blown maybe for a week or two, I'll do it. But
I'm not wearing shorts. That is it's Chicago, so it could be 40 degrees in 20 minutes,
yeah.
but it's still hot outside. It's 8 o'clock at night. For those of you,
It is.
Is this live, Chris? Are we live?
We're not live.
So I can
Why?
curse and.
Oh yeah, you can curse. We're
right.
not on the airwaves yet. So
All right, good. All right.
Yeah.
Just
Church
checking.
takes care of all of that. He loves it. He loves going through and scrubbing out all the curses for when it goes on the radio.
He loves you even more if you curse than you apologize to
Noted.
him for cursing.
Yeah, that's really what he does hate the
Yeah.
most. Just
Sorry.
do it and then don't. Exactly. Well, good to have you on. Been a while.
Great to be on. Yes,
Yeah.
thanks for having me.
As Stained would say.
It's been a while.
Yeah. So our next two guests are first-time guests. So you guys can go in any order that you want. There you go. Third time to charm. Try to move. There you go. So here's the deal. First-time guests introduce themselves. So why don't you tell everybody who you are and what you do? Go for it.
Well, good evening or day. It's Tom Rao from Art History Brewing and Geneva Lager Works.
All right. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
Good. You brought a big crew with you here.
Brought the fam.
Yeah, literally. Yeah. All right. Well, I think listeners of the show, if they didn't know about you from just your beer, I think would definitely heard us talking about you guys. We're fanboys. I think everybody here at the table is a fan of you guys. How long you been around for?
We are in our 5th year right now.
Wow, that's it.
Yeah, 2020 was the start.
Oh, great time.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. There were a few of you who started right around then. Didn't Goldfinger also start right
There
then?
are a few months after us. We had Brother Chimp a few months before us.
Okay.
And Riverlands, I think, a year or so before us.
Okay. Right there at 2020. But it's like when you're ready to open, you open.
Yes,
Yeah,
right.
Especially something like that. Yeah.
If you
that's-
can.
Right. No, once you're allowed to, go for it. That's why I think our first day was January 7th, I think. Great time.
The hottest
Great.
drinking month of the year.
Exactly. Perfect time. Right after the holidays, everybody's raring to go back out.
Dry January.
Yeah. I don't even think Dry January existed when we opened. But it didn't really need to because it kind of already was anyway.
Gotcha.
Because, yeah. But yeah, thanks for making the trip out here. Appreciate it.
Fun.
And who you got? Who you got sitting to your left?
I'm Greg Brown, also of Art History Brewing in Geneva Lagerworks.
Yeah. What do you do for them?
As little as possible.
Okay.
I make the beer mostly, along
Yeah.
with Carolyn.
And you and Mr. Berger have some history. What do you have? Guys have beef or something? What's the deal?
Major beef, yeah. Yeah.
Chicago style?
It's Chicago versus Australia.
Okay.
Major beef. Greg and I go way back. Greg's like my beer mentor from the 90s when my second brewery job was at Wegman Park. Greg was the brewmaster. It was in Wrigleyville, 97.
Yeah,
Yeah.
late 90s.
Yeah.
Is that the brewery that became the Goose Island?
It became
Yeah.
Goose Island, Wrigleyville.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
I was the opening junior manager, and Greg was the opening brewmaster.
Okay.
And it was they hired me months before. They thought they were going to open. They hired me and put me on salary, and then had nothing for me to do because they couldn't get their license. Wrigleyville had a moratorium on liquor licenses. We waited forever.
That's hilarious.
It's a great time to hire
So,
people.
yeah, I just hung out with Greg and peppered him with questions about beer and blah blah blah, and then we worked. I
Hung out like you guys couldn't brew and you couldn't.
No, we
work.
made
Oh,
beer.
you could make beer.
Oh, yeah, we did.
Okay, you were maybe licensed to make it, weren't licensed to sell it.
I think that might have been it. I don't know.
Statute of limitations.
I was like 23. I had no idea what I was doing.
Nice.
Greg has been brewing in this city since what, 90?
95, I think, officially.
Yeah.
Where'd you start at?
So my first job was at a place for a guy he worked for too. It was called the Wine Keller in Berwyn, a brew pub owned by a German guy, and Nick Floyd was my boss. Mm-hmm. And I was there for
Nick Floyd of one of the three Floyds, probably the big Floyd.
He's
the Nick Floyd.
the Floyd.
Yeah, the Nick Floyd.
So I was there for a few months, and then I left there, went to Golden Prairie, which is another
yeah.
early brewery, and then from there to Goose Island, Fulton Street, and then from there to Wiegman Park, which
Thanks the question. Why couldn't you keep a job, man?
well, the breweries kept closing.
Chicago wasn't really that into craft beer. And I know it's hard to. Well, it's not that hard to think about today, but
Yeah.
they were not interested.
Okay, so you're up to 97. So then,
Yeah, at this point, 99. And then Pat went to Flatlanders in Lincolnshire, and when Wiegman flamed out in a spectacular way,
Yeah.
I went to Flatlanders, and then we could spend the whole show going over my career, so I don't want to bore anybody, but I ended up
I'd
at
like to.
art history, so that's all that matters.
Let's just tell Udo Hartung stories for the next hour.
Oh, those are good. Yeah.
yeah.
A lot of people
kinda
got their
sounds great.
start working for Udo. So
A lot, yeah.
So Jim Seaback, he took over from me.
Revolution's head brewer.
Revolution.
Yep.
Mike Miller worked there at Delilah's. Owns Delilah's.
Yeah, a lot of people went through because the wine cellar was really the only option.
Steve
Steve,
Marzuzzi, he was the brewmaster when I was there.
yeah. So at one time,
The guy's
You
name
know,
is Udo.
Udo.
yeah.
He was the brewmaster.
Yeah.
Oh
Yes.
no, well,
No,
he was the
he-
owner.
At the
He
wine
was the
cellar.
owner.
Oh, he was the owner.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he was a German guy, and before his time, he owned 3 brew pubs.
At
and
one time, he owned 3
Yeah.
different breweries.
one mysteriously burned down.
So yeah, this is early days, but there were breweries around back then. It's just that they just didn't last.
Yes.
Burned down. Apparently.
Yeah.
Which apparently is hilarious. Something about that's.
If you knew him, you'd be laughing too.
Where is he now?
We have tracked him down. I don't know if I want to divulge his location, but apparently
What's
him and
his
his
home
wife
address?
are running an Airbnb.
Oh,
And
he's out
you
of
know,
the game.
Yeah, Nick Floyd and I have talked about renting the Airbnb and
Put it this way: there's a party. there's a
Showing up.
party at Delilah's every
year.
Christmas, and the unofficial name is the Wine Cellar Reunion Party. The unofficial name is
The I Hate
the
Udo
I Hate
party.
Udo Party.
Yeah, and I mean that's been going on since like I got fired. Mike Miller's been throwing that party since
Wow.
1997 or whatever.
I mean, one thing about Mike Miller, I mean, he sticks with stuff.
He does.
He does.
Yeah.
Find something, and yeah.
Yeah, he just does it. If it worked once, it'll work
35 more
yeah,
times.
Yeah, exactly. It'll work 101.
God bless him.
Awesome. Well, Greg, thanks for coming on, man.
Oh, no problem. I'm a long-time listener, first-time
Caller.
caller.
Okay, one thing we forgot to do, which we've been negligent in doing, any good beers that people have had or that they're excited to try. So they've had it or, oh, I just can't wait to try this beer. Anything you've had, Mike?
One of my coworkers, Brian, drove back with his dad from Maine recently and stopped in Vermont and got some Wunderkammer beer made with squash and carrots.
Did you already have it?
It's only one bottle, but I haven't had it yet.
Well, if I'm at all, that is one brewery that I'm very interested and will, if it makes sense, like invite me to dinner when you open it up.
Sure.
On Thanksgiving dinner is when you're going to have it. I'll be there.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
amazing.
They very much have scratch energy.
For sure.
But
like
in
the only
Vermont.
other brewery I know of who has any kind of similar energy like that.
Yeah, I think they're the only two that are out foraging lichen
Yeah.
to use in their beers.
Right.
But
Right.
you know what? That's probably not true. There's 10,000 breweries. At least one other has foraged some lichen in their day.
Well, those are the two good ones that I know of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
That is exciting.
So I'm looking forward to that. I forget the name of it, but
Yeah.
it's got some cool stuff in it.
Cool. All right. That's nice.
Yeah.
Mr. Berger, anything you've had lately that you've enjoyed?
I had this new batch of Pilsner over at Dovetail. It was sublime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. When they nail it, they nail it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really good.
How about you, Mr. Brown or Mr. Rao?
So a little while ago, we were discussing a new pub ale, trying to do an old ale, and someone showed up with a can of Old Peculiar.
Oh.
And
wow.
it's been a while since I've had that, and it was
Feekstons, yeah?
brought back some memories.
Yorkshire.
Yeah, and inspiration.
Very cool. I'd like to get there someday and see the squares. Have you been up there? I know you
Yeah.
have a history
Yes.
of some of English
Yep.
brews.
I was at Theakston, and just down the street from Theakston is Black Sheep, which used to send beer here. I don't think they do
I
anymore.
don't think they do. Both of which have the proper Yorkshire squares, I believe.
Yeah, I think you might be right. The beer I'm excited about is one I'm drinking right now, which I love Jaeger. I love the North German style pills,
Yeah.
and I've been drinking Jaeger for a long time, but it's always in an oxidized
Green bottle.
light struck bottle, so it's really good to drink. I was excited when to come down here and get some Jaeger in a can, so it tastes awesome.
Yeah, doesn't it? Yeah, super bitter. I'm excited for this Saturday. Here, I don't usually kind of. I'm not a
me?
homer or plug. Right? Yeah. Sierra Nevada Pale Ale on cask. I don't think I've ever had it on cask before. I've had Torpedo, I think, and if I have had Pale Ale on cask, it's like once ever. So, very excited
exciting.
for that. Yeah, that's worthy of excitement, I think.
that's
So,
great.
looking forward to it. All right. Well, there we are. So, do we want to? We want to get right into the deep stuff, or I have a little bone to pick.
With me?
Yeah.
Okay. What'd I do?
No, with
This time.
with Tilray.
I figured it was me. Thank God.
With Tilray, they're not
You
the
and me both,
giant
brother.
private equity cuddly firm that everyone was saying
That's
they were.
right. Yeah.
Because they cut
Your neighborhood private equity cannabis company.
Yeah, exactly. They cut all the R&D staff at 10 Barrel,
Yeah.
which is one of the breweries that they acquired, and
Like
in-
legendary R&D staff.
yeah, like would just constantly just like rack up awards and stuff like that, and of like all the R&D staff or anything in all these big breweries that you buy, that's the one
Yeah.
that you get rid of, 10
Right.
Barrel. And then 10 Barrel, basically, I the way I see it, it was a nice way to go out with like, double birds flying because they just like cleaned up at GABF, basically saying F you to Tilray. And you know what? The world needs villains. You need reasons to not like want to like care about certain. There's so many breweries in the world, so it's easy for me to be like, Tilray, screw them.
I know you were a big Tilray guy before this, so
Yeah, big time, big Tilray guy.
yeah.
Yeah, everyone knows that about me. Yeah, yeah. So just a quick little news about that. So good on 10 Barrel for cleaning up at GABF, and Tilray showed that they really care about craft beer and innovation and stuff like that. What the hell, Serge? What the hell was that? Kicking the table and stuff? I can tell you're out of practice. Where shall we go from here, Mr. Shalau?
You brought up a beer you're looking forward to, being Cask, and we have some pretty venerable, knowledgeable people about Cask. Should we talk a little bit about Cask programs?
Yeah, we can do that. I think so. I want to get your take on it too, Mr. Berger.
Well, I hope the Northern Brewers Guild is paying attention to that segue
Exactly.
because it was masterful.
Thank you.
It was. Didn't
just
ramble.
Clip that.
It was perfect. Sure, I have opinions on cask beer. I mean,
I know you did. I'm sure you did. And I was glad to kind of knowing you're here.
Look, I love cask beer. That's my
perfect
first
opening.
That's
Perfect
fine.
opening to a Pat Berger opinion. I mean, look.
Hey, come on. I love cask beer. I think the system in America, like it's even dying in England, and you would know more than me because I haven't been over there in a really long time. But there's so much involved in successfully executing craft cask beer. So you've got to have a brewery that is, a willing partner who you're working with. Then the pub itself has to have a knowledgeable cellarman who knows what he's doing with, from breathing the cask to all the stuff that you do. And then you have to have a willing audience who's going to drink this beer quickly and enjoy it. And my opinion was always that all three of those things were never really happening at the same time in the U.S. And you ended up there was this misnomer 10 years ago that everything was better on cask, and you had these cask fests where everyone had to bring beer in a cask, and it was just like, this is dumb. Like, a lot of these beers aren't designed like it's a real subtle difference between a beer on cask and a regularly poured beer. The difference being, it's softer. It allows you to experience the subtle differences of a really, a beer that isn't slapping you in the face with flavor, And, so when people were putting like pastry stouts and triple IPAs in casks, it's like, why? Why don't you just put it in a keg? It's safer and easier, and it's going to dispense better, and it's going to end up tasting better. But this resurgence that I've seen lately, it's very niche as it started out. It's a niche thing, and it can't ever be really huge, and it can be done right in certain circumstances. It's not like I'm totally against cask beer by any means, but I see it most successfully done in breweries where the brewer is making the beer, he's the cellarman, he's tapping it. The people there are there just to drink that beer, or that brewery's beer. That's all that's being sold. And so I haven't seen it like really well done in a pub in a long time. I mean, I'm also not. I don't know. It also died out completely there for a little while, and all these bars that had hand pumps were empty for years and years. So that's my opinion.
All right. I think there's a lot of validity to that. I mean, Greg, I think you're pretty, from what I've heard from Cindy, your boss, pretty curmudgeonly when it comes to allowing your casks to go out there. But you also have it kind of holds a place in your heart. And I forget if it was, I think it might have been Cindy, who's in the Peanut Gallery. Was it you who told us about your casks, or did we come? Yeah, I think you might have. Or did we come asking about cask from you? I forget. It might have been we do casks, and I forget.
So I
Do you remember?
think you guys came out to visit us
Yeah.
at the tap room for like a kind of like a team building day for
Yeah.
the Beer Temple. And we've had our cask since 2021, I guess, when we could like fully open.
Yeah.
That was a big thing for all of us. Greg has traveled quite a bit, is definitely an aficionado and perfectionist with cask and real ales. Tom and I've also traveled, lived in Toronto in the late 80s, where it was British pubs and really kind of cool. So I remember you guys coming and being impressed that we had good beer on cask and served properly. And from that, got to meet Stephen, and great relationship. You guys do it so well, and I think truly lead the charge with real ales within the entire market from our experience. It's
Pretty
become,
easy when there's nobody else to go with, but I appreciate it very much.
But you do it well, so
Yeah.
it's not coming out that it's it's not cold and fizzy. It is, yes, it's warm and flat, but that's what the American audience, that would be their response. I can tell you we have a lot of expats from all over the Chicagoland area that come to our tap room specifically for our cask ales.
Wow.
And you know it because when you have two guys at the bar named Simon that
Yeah.
come at noon
Right.
on the release, and they'll tell you, I'm from Yorkshire and this hits it, or I'm from the West End of London and you didn't hit it.
For sure.
So
And
we
it's probably,
appreciate
I'm
that.
curious if you can have them both say it, because one of them will be like, where's the sparkler? And the other one will be like, get that blasted sparkler off. And that's just how that is. Yeah, I mean, so let me ask you, Greg, like, is it worth sending out cask when it can be, it's difficult. It takes a lot of work. Well, I don't know how much work it is. It takes a lot more work than tapping a keg. Just having it ready and just tapping the keg.
Yeah.
And a lot can go wrong. And Cindy was, I think, alluding to in your email earlier, who gets blamed for it? Often the brewer. You're the one, and they say Greg Brown doesn't know how to make a cask ale.
True.
Because it's being served improperly, and you kind of understand why Guinness invented nitro. Because they didn't feel like dealing with
Right.
with all that stuff. At the same time, like, what makes, other than like it looks cool, and expats like it, like why? What do you like about cask ale that makes it worth all the headaches?
I think part of it is kind of the novelty of it. A a customer will see, and I'm sure you guys see this, a customer will see one being poured, and it's the whole show. And if they've never seen it before, they're like, holy cow, what is that? You know, what's going on over there?
Yeah, yeah.
And they might order one. So, I mean, when it's good, it's really good. And when it's bad, it's really bad.
Yeah.
And that's why there's not a lot of places that do it. And I give you guys all, a lot of credit for not only doing it, but for doing it well. And that's why, we don't send it out to a lot of places, because if the account doesn't know what they're doing with it, it's going to make me look bad. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, it had there was a moment there in Chicago, especially, late '90s. We had the Real Ale Fest here that Ray Daniels and Steve Hamburg did, and that was a pretty big thing at one point. There was brewers coming from all over the world sending beer for that.
Yeah, when I was in London the first time, we took a tour of Fuller's, and they have like a little. At the end of the tour, there's like a museum that has old brewing equipment, and it has old pictures on the wall and a lot of their awards. And one of the awards we saw was the Chicago Beer Society Real Ale Fest award, and we thought that was really funny. We all took pictures in front of it at the Fuller's Brewery, and we're like, "You guys submitted to the Real Ale Fest in Chicago?" And, we're like, and thought enough of it to put it up on the
Fuller's
wall.
used to send these crazy. Because we had them in this pub I worked at it in high school. They were like fake hand pumps. Did you ever see those, Greg?
Yeah.
And you got you didn't get Fuller's Firkins, you got Fuller's kegs, and you hooked them up. And then they had it was like a hand pump that they installed in your bar, but there was it was hooked to CO2. Yeah,
right.
CO2 was pushing it through. So they were always
almost I'm imagining it like looking like some of those Guinness handles that kind of come all the way down.
Yeah,
like
but you pumped it. I don't know how. I don't know how the thing worked. I worked in the kitchen.
It's just on a spring.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and it looked, it made your pub look like an English pub back in the 80s.
Interesting. I'm sorry, but I interrupted you.
Yeah, I don't know where I was with that.
That's okay.
But, well, I mean, it's weird. It's like it's just kind of turned out that most breweries I've worked at had a hand pump. It wasn't by design. It just, at Goose Island, Clybourne, that was probably the first place I ever saw a hand pump in use. And
We had one at Flatlanders.
We had one at Weigman. Which was weird, trying to sell cask beer to drunk Cubs fans.
Cask mild, which, I was young. I'd never heard of mild.
Well, neither do the Cubs
came out with
fans
a mild. No.
because they called it milled. What's milled? It's like, well, number one, it's not milled, it's mild, and you probably do not want that. You're probably looking for a cold old style. So yeah, that was like trying to sell ice to the Eskimos. They was trying to sell.
Craft beer to Cub fans in the 90s.
They were not ready for it.
Yeah, they were not interested.
I do think the novelty, though, I mean, you're on to something, and I do feel like experiential things are what seem to be from certainly like a dispense standpoint, like what people seem to be gravitating to. I mean, style is still, I think, one that, like, the new style, the new beer and stuff like that. But Mike, we've talked a lot about just like this, essentially stuff that's like experiential, be it the dimpled mug or I mean, that's another English thing, but like whatever it is.
I think it's like a post-COVID trying to do things that you can't do at home.
Right.
Like you can't. Most people don't have a Luker at home.
Kolsch
doing
service.
a Japanese style sharp
Yes.
pour, Kolsch service.
Japanese beer service.
Yeah.
Japanese standing bar and stuff like that.
Most people don't have a hand pump at home either. Maybe
Right.
Steve Hamburg does, but
Right.
I got a buddy that has one.
yeah.
But like
Is that Phil?
It's Phil.
Classic Phil.
so he makes his own real ale and then
No,
pumps
he
it?
buys it from me.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say like, yeah. All right.
How much?
Phil's the man, dude. Like when I was,
I think he does have a Luker also.
When I was
Wow.
22, this guy Phil would show up, and he was always traveling, always for beer, always coming into the brewery, with crazy Austrian and German beers and stuff. Mm-hmm. This guy's been doing it a long time. Shout out to Phil. He's probably not listening to this, but
No.
and never will.
I don't know. We're pretty
he's
old
he's
school.
the guy that got me into
Yeah.
beer. So
Right. Wow. Well, I will say the one thing about
How much is he drinking? Sorry, he has his
Casper.
own
I don't know, maybe
cask.
he has a pen.
He's going through it that fast.
He had a pen and a breather.
He's just nodding.
He probably has
Yeah.
a wedge and
you
a
need
pen.
a breather. Yeah.
Yeah. But I've taken a Burgundian stance on some of these things, being that a contrarian in the
You?
yeah.
No.
Yeah, well, I mean, I learned from Pat Berger. I was not a contrarian at all before I met Pat.
Yeah, right.
And I do think that like some of those experiential things, like they're fun.
Yeah.
And I think they're overall good, but I think what ticks me off is when people I feel are putting like too much gravitas into like what this stuff is, what some of this
nice
stuff
product
is.
placement.
Yeah. And like do I really want to go after Luker again? I mean,
Let's
I
go.
guess I have to. Like, it's good. I like him, but like, is it experientially like that significant? I would say it's moderately different, but I don't think it's that different.
These things also can serve as like
I mean,
signaling
you own a
mechanisms.
Yeah,
bar. You
I
own a
agree.
beer bar, and you don't think the dispensing of the beer is that important?
I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
That's basically what you're saying.
No, it's not.
These different ways to dispense beer don't really make it that much difference. I think they make a huge difference, and they do affect the flavor. And if you don't believe in mouthfeel, I don't. I do. It's a real thing.
Okay.
You're
Wow.
here first. Chris doesn't believe in mouth.
You hate. Do you also hate
I
nitrogenated beer?
I feel all those words you just crammed into my mouth. I didn't necessarily say any of that.
I'm not cramming anything in your mouth.
Yeah. Thank you. I
Sorry,
appreciate
Serge.
it.
Yeah, it's gonna have to cut that one
Yeah.
out.
No. What I was saying is, relative to, wet foam, dripping wet foam, which we all love.
I think you just get caught up on like what people use to describe these things, but they do different things. They do cause different textures and things come out
Yeah.
of beer.
No, I agree.
And you just get caught up like, well, this guy said wet foam is actually like 50% beer, but I weighed it. And
Which I
it was
did.
only 40% beer. And you took that as a victory.
No. Anywho, the good thing about this is it's all recorded. So you can go
You're
back
gonna
and
cut all
listen.
that out?
No, you can listen to what I said in the past when people say I said certain things. So what I was going to say is I think cask beer actually is a completely different drinking experience versus something even on nitro or certainly on draft. So from an experiential standpoint, I do think that it is, in my mind, far and away more than other dispense types. Not the only one that does anything. I mean, let's all get picnic pumps.
Whatever.
Let's all
Okay.
get picnic pumps. It doesn't matter. That's what old Chris Quinn said.
I heard it.
Yeah, you
just
heard
said
it here
now.
first.
Clip
That's what
that,
I
Serge.
got out
Put that
of
on,
it,
put that on
yeah.
Instagram.
But I do think cask ale is a completely different experiential thing than other dispense types.
So
I think it's pretty unique.
So
that
are you
way.
sparkler or no sparkler?
See, we are not really super firm with this, like the sparkler, or not like never sparkler or always sparkler. We sometimes on the same cask will go from one to the other. If it's nice and lively and bright, I say no sparkler. But if it needs to, if it's losing a little bit of the condition, even though you're stripping it out, it does have a nice look to it to have that kind of creamy foam on top and the more flat beer below it. So we kind of go half and half. Some bartenders here, I think, overuse the sparkler, but hey, I'm not gonna
Yeah.
get up.
It'll come up in their
Name
annual,
names,
their
Chris.
annual
Name
review.
names. Come on, it's being recorded. You can name
Okay.
names.
Well, listen,
like- I
I'll
like
rank.
your-
I'll rank all the bartenders from who does it right to who. No.
I like your
Now the
policy.
list can change, gentlemen.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. Yeah, I like that policy because some of the stuff we send down, like the more northern style, I don't prime as much. So it's meant to be on a sparkler, and some of the stuff we send down, I do prime more if it's meant to be more of a southern thing. So.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, that's good that you guys make that determination in house that hey, it doesn't need it. But you're right. Most places are just like, oh fuck, let's just throw the sparkler on.
Right.
You know, because it looks good, but it makes the beer taste different. You know?
Oh yeah.
Especially if it's more of a hoppy sort of southern style bitter.
So
It'll cut the hops, right? Like it'll
Yeah,
more of a sweet
like
flavor.
like a nitro. It'll
Yeah.
just smooth
Strip
it
them
out.
out, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Whereas the northern beers are more malt forward anyway, so it doesn't hurt it to have the sparkler on.
Right.
I used to hate the sparkler because it gave it that nitro creamy feel,
Mm-hmm.
and then I went to Yorkshire and I'm like, oh man, this is actually really good with these beers. So I
Right.
became a convert. So now I don't mind it. But yeah, definitely there's something to not having the sparkler and having that carbonation bite with the hops. If that's the way it was designed.
Yeah.
I mean, I've thought about adding a second cask line just because I do think that it is unique. It is something that's unique to going out to a bar. I think that it's something that is, I think that you really can't recreate. And if you're doing it well, you will, and you can get good product. I mean, that's the other thing that's been hard in the past, but it's getting easier now. And yeah, when people, it's funny when people like if nobody, we'll have these waves where like if nobody's getting cask, nobody gets cask. But as soon as somebody starts getting it, then people want to get it.
The fajitas of dispensing methods.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
It's the fajitas of dispensing method.
I also think there was an era in craft beer where most breweries in America looked at the cask as a way to jam more stuff into a beer.
Yeah.
And it was like that Frickin' Friday-ification of things.
That was a terrible
It
time.
was rough, and I think now there's probably less hand pumps now, but what's on them is good.
Yeah.
I've yet to go into a place that has one. Mostly it's just here, and then look at that and be like, well, that's not going to be something I want to drink. It's always,
Well, I would say, when brew pubs ruled craft beer, most brew pubs, had some version of
Right.
cask beer, and yeah, a lot of them were bad, and a lot of them were not really, authentic, and a lot of them had weird ingredients, and maybe that's why it went away.
Remember the Randall?
random.
Right.
Oh my God! What a manifestation of everything that was wrong with craft beer.
What? Tell everyone what the Randall was who may not remember.
The Randall was like a, well, I might get it wrong, but it was like a giant cylindrical clear.
It was a pool filter.
Yeah, it was like basically a filter where the beer would go from the cask.
It's a nice way to oxidize your beer.
Or
real
yeah,
quickly.
or I think you did it on regular handles too.
I think it was
right?
regular handles, and it started out as
like a-
Dogfish Head putting whole cone hops in there.
It was
Yeah.
like an inline hopback right
Yeah.
at the point of dispense.
Randall the enamel animal, and then people started putting just horrific things like candy corn.
And pineapples.
Yeah,
and, yeah. It was.
And probably never cleaned it.
But it was just one of those things where you would rinse it out. It was it was like, oh, there's this keg is moving slow. I know people were like, throw the Randall on it and put something stupid in there, and people will just start buying it. So, really authentic, good.
Yeah, it's visible.
Yeah.
You can see the shit in it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the Randall was messy. It sounded like you could do some romantic stuff with it, like having, like, I know they were doing
So
some stuff where it
stupid.
was like,
Sorry.
figs soaked in brandy and stuff like that. Ooh, that could sound really good, but it never really worked out that well. I think if you loaded it with hops, it could do well. And I saw people do like coffee and put stout through it.
Right.
And,
Most of the time, you get, 2 to 5 really different, interesting pours of something.
Well, it all came
And
from
then-
like people like, the English would dry hop firkins. And that was kind of a special thing. Oh, you put a little bag of hops in there, dry hop it. And then, the American craft beer movement decided that you just had to throw all sorts of shit in there. And,
That's what we did.
It was out of hand. And then, like, why are you even doing this in a firkin? Like, and why does this even have to be on a firkin? Like, is the softer carbonation really making a difference on your, chocolate cake stout thing that you put in a firkin?
To quote Steve Hamburg, just because the bung hole is like that big doesn't mean you could shove whatever fruit or whatever you wanted. Potatoes. Look, it's the size of a potato. I can put a potato in there.
We really did abuse people's openness and willingness to try new things for a while there in craft beer.
Yeah.
Where we were making stuff just because people wanted new stuff, not
Yeah.
because it was actually good.
But from an experiential standpoint, I do think like the Japanese, like things like that, Kolsch service, are kind of cool if you can kind of recreate what the beer culture is like. I would like to see, more cask stuff. It's so unique. It's so different. It's such a legitimately an actual different way of consuming the beer. And having come back from Germany, I mean, those tabletop casks as well, like the kind of rubber or pitch-lined ones that you would have there.
The gravity.
Yeah, I mean, they're cool, but like,
Completely different way. Yeah.
you really think they're
Foss
completely
kegs.
different?
Yeah. Yeah. By the end of the time I was in Germany, I could 100% have a beer and be like, oh, this, even at like Oktoberfest, like, these are on draft. Ew, gross. I want it from the whole Foss.
What
like
was
the
the
giant
difference
ones,
for
the
you?
big one. Softer, easier to drink, more kind of gentle carbonation. So,
I mean, those aren't conditioned.
no, I mean, they're from the bright tank,
They're
presumably.
just kegs that aren't they're being pushed out with gravity
Yeah.
instead of CO2.
Yeah, but I mean, it 100%.
But if you just like
made a
freshly
difference.
tapped a keg and started running it,
on oxygen,
on oxygen,
open to air.
McSorley
open
style.
air. So, I mean, that's not a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't necessarily.
I also don't know how they
Agree
were
that it's that
carbonated.
different.
Were they naturally carbonated, or are they force carbing it differently than we do
They're just
here?
racking it into those instead of into kegs.
I guess it probably depends on the brewery. It could be a Caliber version.
Right.
But yeah, they want the Germans. They want the beer clear, so it's not conditioned. And
It's the same beer that goes into a keg. It's just going into a different keg.
but it looks nice.
It does. I love them. Yeah, I want one. But
The ones at Oktoberfest, by the way, are filled by tanker trucks every morning.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
But without a doubt, it had a difference to it. And it was maybe it is that it's exposed to oxygen and maybe like micro oxidation. It's losing carbonation
Well, that's
over
what-
time.
I mean, that's Camera's whole thing is, for a long time they were like, well, you can't use the breather because that changes the flavor. You don't get the interaction with the oxygen. I think they've come around on the cask bridge now, but that was their whole thing forever was, no, it has to be open to the air. Like, well, good luck in America because that firkin's going to be sitting there for a week.
Right.
Right. Right.
So it was a different story, and that's why we use. I mean, I don't apologize for using the breather because we have to.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, same here. And you still get, I mean, it still loses condition. I mean, it just doesn't get the oxidation doesn't happen nearly as fast. Now, I'd have to see, like, with the kind of German dispense, how it happens. But I do think that dispensing in that manner has a, legit, I think.
It's an experience, Chris.
Yeah, it's an experience.
Yeah.
But I also think, yeah, it's
They're fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's fun. It's
yeah,
great.
Yeah, it's fun. There you go.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good thing overall.
For
you know?
sure.
Yeah. And to me, things that different people enjoy, it's the fact that it's kind of tied to, history and how it's being served over in places historically and even currently is cool. I mean, like the Japanese standing bars and all that sort of stuff. Like, that's kind of cool, To me, I think if there's a what's the word I'm trying to come up with? It's an actual tactile olfactory or
Organoleptic.
Yes, organoleptic difference. I think that's even better. But other people don't really care about that. So, yeah. What do you think, Pat? Time to take a break? Is that what you think?
I think it's time to take a break.
Pat, when are
I
you
think we
doing
can
your
film.
Japanese stand-up service
I'm too old for that.
with Asahi Dry?
Right.
I could drink 100 of them. It's like breathing oxygen, Greg.
Super dry, baby.
Yeah, love it.
All right. We'll be back shortly with more of the Beer Temple podcast.
And we're back. Welcome back to the Beer Temple podcast. I'm your co-host, Mike Shalau of Is Was Brewing, and I'm here with your other co-host, Chris Quinn of the Beer Temple,
What's up?
and our round table.
Trying to out-curmudgeon the curmudgeon. I think I'm winning so far.
You think you're more curmudgeonly?
Yeah, I think so.
I think you are.
Yeah.
I think you're a good
It's on
secret.
any given day, Sunday, any given Tuesday. But
That's like why when people come in here, like you don't have any hazy IPAs on.
'Cause I hate them.
You hate them. Nothing with fruit.
because I hate it. Yeah.
No.
No, that's not true, everybody. No. That's what people think after
Yeah.
listening to this show.
Right.
People said, you're allowed to I think they told, the beer buyer, you're allowed to have hazies on? I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, I think you think differently of Chris in reality.
Yeah.
Versus, soapbox Chris.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyhow.
Character, Chris.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
another smooth transition.
Yeah, it's okay.
Shoe in for that too, Pete.
It's true. We're going to two-peat, baby.
We want to discuss a little bit about distribution for craft breweries.
Yes. What made me think about this was how Kevin Carey was on talking so much about, just deeply about hospitality and how like seriously he takes that and what it kind of means to him. And Andrew from Other Half was on as well, echoing a lot of that and how he's kind of really kind of come to believe that it's just crucial to everything. Other Half is just the experiential, the hospitality side of things, it's just interesting to me because I think it's true, right? I mean, I would think Tom is like hospitality super important to you. You're kind of going, you're not so sure.
We have a very small tap room, so hospitality. I mean, the experience of drinking beer, meeting with people, sitting at the bar, having the beer poured, having a quiet enough environment to enjoy conversation, enjoy the beer. I think it's, this. We didn't get in this business to be event managers. We didn't get in this business to hold karaoke nights. Sure, all of that brings people in, and there's bingo, there's all that other stuff that we can do, and some of that's important. It's community as long as it's community involved. But in the end, the tap room is we kind of hold that, call it sacred, but it's really about the experience of having a conversation with the person who's pouring your beer, who's knowledgeable about the beer, can talk about the styles, can talk about the glassware, can talk about the pour size, can talk about the 6 different pour styles that we have, and then just talk about what's going on. and that's 90% of what goes on in a small tap room. Now, big event space, very different, and I absolutely get it. You got to bring people in. You got to have community. You got to have events. But we have 9 breweries in our area. We're talking about maybe 100,000 people, and there's like 9 breweries servicing this in the western suburbs, and some of them have free event space. Come on, bring your people in, do it. You can have the space for free. We're competing with busier, larger tap rooms that have the crowd that comes in is looking for the latest, looking for the hops, looking for the the barrel aged, looking for the release, looking for the special event, looking for the robot wars, whatever it might be. We just have a different approach to things. It's really about the beer, and then we could talk a little bit about why distribution becomes more important. But I think a tap room is where the point where you experience what the brewery has to offer, and sometimes the circus, the stuff that goes around it, can take away from that, and then you have people who are just there because of costume contest or whatever it might be. I'm all for bringing people in. I just think that if you direct people away from the beer experience, you're taking a little bit away from the brand, and I think that's kind of important to us. So it's not I'm dissing anything. I don't want to say that events are not important. Taproom traffic is tough to get, and it's tough to maintain, and you got to do things. But if it takes away from the brand, if it directs people away from what you want them to experience, I think it's a detriment.
Interesting. You're not saying exactly opposite things of what I think Andrew certainly was saying, where he was like, now other half to him, and I don't want to, again, the good thing is you can go back and listen to exactly what he said, but kind of what I took from it was, the brand became the experience people had there and the good times that they had, and it really became, they have like 8 or 9 facilities now across multiple states and stuff like that. It's almost like just different models, right? I mean, one is a hospitality, come to the tap room model. It's closer to almost like a concept bar. Our concept is we make the beer here, and this is kind of what we do here. Other half also has, they make a lot of beer. They make a lot of beer outside of that too. And the other is, I think, more of a industry, an industrial. We make beer, we manufacture beer. This is our outlet for beer. But we were talking about Fuller's before the show. Their tap room at the brewery was fine. Certainly not the best Fuller's pub in London. Probably not the top 100 Fuller's pub in London. Now, back in the day, they owned those too. But still, just kind of, it was nice. But it was about, you were there because you were visiting the brewery and seeing where this came from, versus it being, all about the hospitality. I'm very curious to hear kind of like your take on this, because I guess the other side of it is like, if hospitality becomes more important, does distribution become less important?
Right.
And is that because distribution is more difficult because on-premise accounts are declining, and you kind of have to become your own, or I don't know. You're so new at it. I'm curious,
Right.
like what your thoughts are right
Well,
now.
we're in like an interesting space because it'd be really easy to not send any beer into distribution right now. Like, we could sell every drop of beer we're making in our tap room. But we spent the last 5 years creating relationships and, made our brand by partnering with a small group of retailers. And I also think it's a trap where if you start neglecting that, it atrophies and goes away.
And that's kind of what happened with Metro, right?
I don't know the chicken or
Yes.
the egg
Yeah.
there. So
Right? Yeah. As soon as that tap room opened, their beer became hard to get.
Yeah, they made a
Right.
choice.
Yeah.
They didn't send beer to the distributor.
And their distribution did atrophy. I mean, I'm not here to speak ill of the dead, but
Right. And we're super small, right? And we only really sell beer in and around Chicago. And we still do all of our own deliveries. So, and I'm the only sales rep. So there has certainly been.
and you use pipes, and you don't hard pipe for your water. I mean, we know.
Well, I haven't had time yet. But I mean, certainly there's been some things that I've neglected distribution-wise in the last month or two, just because I simply haven't had time. But there are moments where I'm talking with other people, like our taproom manager, people that work in the taproom, and they're like, "Well, can we just tap those 6 barrels?" And I'm like, "No, those are for distribution. Like, we need to maintain these relationships because real growth for us is there's a cap on how many people are going to come to the tap room. We're not going to open a second tap room. So if we actually want to grow revenue at a certain point, it's going to be continuing to partner with retailers and bars and restaurants.
I mean, that's it. Now that's a choice. Now, if you were to say we're going to open up, because now you can just open up a bar essentially and deliver your 6-stools there, right?
Yeah. I mean,
Legally, I'm saying.
Yeah. We could open up to 3 locations.
Right. So it is a choice, I suppose, that you could make and other people have made to do that.
Sure, in one way, but in another way, it's I have no delusions about how big our brand is and how widespread the appeal of Saison is, right? The fact that there is one place that does that in the city, that is focused on it, is unique to people. So, I don't know if 2 would... if we need 2 is. One location is enough for that. But
yeah. Also, isn't it funny to think if you were to open up a Saison only bar or a Saison dominant as your tap room is. So not only you have an IPA, you have lager,
we have guest beers,
yeah.
and we will make other.
It would be so much different than your current tap room is too. For obvious reasons, it would not need to be a manufacturing zone space and stuff like that.
Right.
But it is funny just to think about how, just how kind of different the models are as well.
And we have so much more control over our draft list because we get to choose what we make than if I were to say I was going to open up a Saison only bar. I would very much be at I
guess I wasn't thinking about that.
The whim
that
of
much,
when is the Lime Ventures drop coming, and how many different ways can I dispense Saison DuPont?
Oath just went tits up.
Right. Yeah. So did my bar.
Yeah.
So there's something about the space you occupy in consumers' brains when you are the origination point, and how this is their point of view can be much different. They accept a wider point of view than just if you are the end point retailer, right? At least for most the beer list type things. There are certainly food concepts and things that stick in people's brains, but you're the origination point for that if you're a restaurant with a bar, right?
But
whereas curation only goes you can't say, hey, there aren't really any lager only bars as much as I think Pat would want there to be. And it's just
There used to be.
Yeah, right.
Lachette's
Used to be most of the bars in Chicago.
Yeah,
but
that's
lager
true.
only.
Right.
That's true.
But it's just people think about these things. Consumers put these in different buckets in their brain. I know that when they're making an ultimate choice of where to go and spend the night, we're all kind of in the same space. But how they think about how you're curating your list is different, and why you would be doing something like that.
Speaking of Lachette's, right near Dovetail. I mean,
Yeah.
pretty similar beer lists, I would say,
there is one
at
that's pretty
those
much
at those
lager only,
two places, but very different vibes.
And Lachette's does not serve any American beer.
No.
It has to be from Germany or Austria. So different, I think. And they serve food.
Yeah, that's probably
It's-
an exception to what I'm talking about in a very cool, good way.
Right. Yeah. They're they probably are an all lager bar with a Hefeweizen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they for some reason that sticks in people's brains of it's a German restaurant with all German beer in the same way a brewery with a specific focus does. Whereas
So-
go ahead.
So is that this is to everybody, I guess, here at the table. So like for small craft breweries, and I would put you guys very much both in that bucket. Is that like a decision that needs to be made? Are we a tap room focused brewery, or are we a distribution focused brewery? I'm talking about a small brewery that is, starting out or has started out in the last 5 years. Is that kind of something that needs to be made, or can you do it all?
We'll find out. I mean, you really should do your best to do it all, to do both of those things, because that's like the advantage you have is by being the manufacturer is that, if something like COVID happens, you have to like shut down your bar, you can still sell beer like through distribution, right? And so the healthiest business is to keep both of those fully engaged and operating at the highest level they can. Now, it's easier to say that than to actually do it, and resources are always scarce, so it becomes where do I spend my financial resources and where do I spend my time resources, right? Mm-hmm. And so you have to really be mindful and conscious of what is best for your business and how to execute those things.
I also think it's a physical limitation as to what you can do, what you can't do. You have to understand that most of these breweries that are small craft breweries are 10, 15 barrel systems, and some are a lot smaller.
Right.
And, if you have a vibrant tap room, there's just no room to go distro. You might be local, you might be in some favored places, but we understood right off the bat with when we were shut down, even a 10 barrel system, we couldn't sell any beer in a tap room. We had to package or die. And so we immediately went to packaging, immediately went to retailers, immediately tried to develop relationships where the beer could be sold. And when the tap rooms and the restaurants reopened, we didn't want to get rid of those relationships. We wanted to continue, and some of them were extremely valuable. Mm-hmm. And so it was, all right, now we have to contract brew. You contract brew, or, you just, contract. And we didn't want to do that either. And then contract brewing was not a viable option, because when you drink beer made by Craig, made with Geneva water, and then you drink a beer made under that same label, contract brewing with Chicago water, by a different brewery, it's a different beer. I don't care how close they can get, it's going to be different. So we decided it was, it's get bigger, become our own contract brewing, and that's where Geneva Lagerworks came from, or, basically contract back to the taproom status and give up, the relationships we had with, Chicago area restaurants, bottle shops, bars that were really, really important to us. And that, so it was grow or die. So distribution was to us really the only solution. And investing in a second contract brewery during post-COVID, incredibly risky, incredibly audacious, but a lot of belief in what we were doing, and sometimes you kind of plow through that.
Let me ask again. This is kind of an open question with on-premise kind of declining, and also, I mean, when I see like new bars opening up, gone are the days of 40 taps. Gone are the days of 20 taps. The number of lines are shrinking. Is that playing into your guys' business model when you think of how you want to distribute your beer? You're nodding. Yes. Yeah.
A perfect example would be the Green Lady. Mm-hmm. She basically pulled back on so many different taps and created a much more concise beer list, tap list. Yeah. And really said, I've got to have core lagers, core imports, whatever it might be. And so now you're competing with the best. So there's a handful of really good lager breweries in Chicago, And so we feel we stand up well against those, and so we're competing for those handles. But I think that our placements on premise are growing. So I think in contrast to some of your comments about the contraction, I think it's really good because there's a little bit more curation going on. And I think that if you do have the right product, you have the right branding, you have the right relationships. I think relationships are probably underrated here in terms of how you develop a brand within a community. Then that's you can grow the business. And so maybe
Probably,
it's a little
maybe a little bit more difficult when there were 40 tap lines. You could get it on more easily, and then the consumers could be like, "Ooh, I really like this one." And then that would kind of help continue your sales. Now it's a fight to get it on, but when it's there, you've got the attention.
You get 64 lines. They're all sixtels, and half of them are going bad because they just don't get drained. And next thing you know, you're drinking bad beer as a consumer.
And the consumer's paying more for it as well. The economics for them are bad.
Yeah, the best tap rooms, bars were always the ones that were curated. So Map Room, Hop Leaf, you guys, Pat, that's where knowledgeable people went because there wasn't just crap thrown up against the wall, see what sticks. It was like people there, actually knew what they were talking about and they selected those beers. And it's harder to get in there, but when you get in there, you gain respect.
Yeah, and I don't know, I think most people are rotating less. We are. For sure. And when you get in with us, it's not going to be one keg and you're gone. You're going to hang around. We're more concerned with consistent brewing partners who are sending us great beer as opposed to making sure we have 10 different new beers on tap every week. And I think a lot of bars have kind of gone that route. So. But back to the original point, I do think you kind of have to make a choice. I do. There are some breweries out there who are exceptions and they have the resources or we're just in the right place, right time, who can have this incredibly busy tap room that they, operates just like Kaiser Tiger or any other bar and also has a big presence. But they're few and far between, and especially if you're a small brewery right now or if you're opening a brewery, I think you kind of have to go, we're either a brew pub or we're a production brewery because you don't have the resources to do both. Both of those things are incredibly hard, involve an incredible amount of labor and time and happenstance. And, so... I understand the value of the tap room 1,000%, but if that's where all your resources are going and that's where all your beers are premiering and that's where all of your money and your workforce is concentrating on, then you're a brew pub, and that's nothing wrong with that. That's a wonderful thing, and I love brew pubs, but you're probably not going to be on my tap lines. I probably not. You probably don't have a rep on the street. You probably aren't going to offer to do a tapping at my bar. You're probably not going to come by with an idea for an event. And those are the people that I'm partnering with. People who are trying to promote my brand along with their own. So I think a choice has to be made.
Right. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, there's also a difference of this question was asked pre-pandemic or even well before that, 2016. These are different answers too, right? Our idea of success now is if we can make 900 barrels. So can we sell 400 of that in our tap room and still do a good job of getting 500 out into Chicago? That's much more likely than can we, are we going to do 10,000 barrels and then also do 1,000 in our tap room? Those are dramatically different tasks. So
900 barrels.
Yeah. And
We're talking about the breweries that are going to make money this year. They need to make.
why start now?
I'm just kidding, Mike. I'm not though. Like 900 barrels? How do you? Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
a lot of work. A lot of work.
It's a labor of love, I assume.
Yeah.
Hey, Cantillon only makes, I think, like 300 or 400 barrels a year. Look at them. Everyone loves them. Clamors to get it.
Yes, that's a
That's us.
business
That's the
model.
model.
I would. Yeah, that's
what
the
we're
business
going
model I
after.
would go after.
Yeah.
Cantillon, very achievable.
Hey, look at Wunderkammer.
That sounds like,
Yeah.
One guy, no
Yeah.
refrigeration.
One dude with lichen.
Yeah.
But hey, there's people like me who are inviting themselves over to Thanksgiving dinner just to get it. So, and there's so many of me. There's at least one more of me in the world.
That's right.
Maybe not two more, but
No.
there's at least one
It's not
more.
a two more.
Yeah. Well, are we at that point, Mike? Have we gotten there?
At the end of the show?
Yeah.
I guess so. It sounds like it.
Okay. Well, I don't know. Is there any more that you about distribution or about like kind of the future of it? To me, it was just interesting that we just had two people on in a row who were just hammering hospitality, and
Yeah,
almost like that's their like the mantra. It was hospitality, and I don't think they were wrong.
Yeah, but Kevin sells the vast majority of his beer into distribution, and I think so does other half. But sometimes it's the thing that's right in front of you is what you talk about more, right? Because you go to your brewery and you see people coming in, and you have to do that, right? It's not an option to not have good hospitality in your tap room just because you think you're going to sell beer at distribution. Like you are still a hospitality company inside of your tap room, like whether or not you like it or whether or not you want to do that, you are. And the way you make people feel will affect the way that they come back to your space. And then the way that they observe your beer when they see it in distribution. You're a bunch of dickheads like we are. No one wants to buy your beer in distribution.
I think core element of brand is how you treat people in the tap room.
Yeah.
And that's how people get to know the owners, how people get to know the people who are serving them beer. It's all part of the brand experience.
Are you guys self-distributed?
We were until about a month ago.
Got it. Congratulations on
Thank you.
not doing the dumb thing I'm doing. But
4 years.
Yeah, we also treat that as part of that's part of being not a hospitality company, but the way you treat people, right? Like I used to drive every single drop of beer to every single store so that I could check in and see how I was going and say hi and create legitimate relationships with people because we're making a weird thing that is not it's not a plug and play hazy IPA or even a lager where people know they like it already. It requires people at the end point to also have some knowledge or interest in it to just show it to other people in their stores that might be interested in it. So I always treated that as like, we don't have a tap room right now, but the way I treat these people I'm interacting with, like the beer buyers, the people in the stores checking things in when I drop them off or at the bar, they will likely pass that the way they feel about me and our beer and our beers onto the consumer.
Yeah, that's sales, right? I mean,
sure, it's a coping mechanism for me because I feel like I'm terrible at sales, but I'm like, if I'm nice to people, then they'll feel bad if they don't buy my stuff.
It's also the biggest concern you have when
Sale.
you move from a self-distro to having a distribution partner.
Yeah.
Is how are they going to
Right.
translate that? How are they going to continue? And that's the biggest. I think one of the biggest decisions that drove us to our partner is will they and are they well regarded? Do they have good people? Do they will they represent the brand well? Because in the end, they're now own the beer.
Right. And if we're only going to make 900 barrels of beer, we're never going to be able to compete on price, right? It's always going to have to be, we're always going to be some premium price product in some way or another. We're never going to be able to compete on volume discounts or anything like that. So it's relationships and making sure that we make something that is of value to the end consumer, as well as like having a positive relationship with the people that are in between us and them.
Mike, are you selling other people's beer at your
We are.
tap room?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's part of the hospitality too, right? Like, we want people to come in there and have a good time regardless of whether or not they like Saison.
Right.
So we have a lot of neighborhood people that come in and never drink our beer. But we have, like, a blonde ale, we have a lager, and we have an IPA. So that things that people like that. Then they come in and they're like, what's your hoppiest beer? And we're like, none of them. It's like, that's a bad way to engage with anyone. So
Gotcha. You know, and that's, again, like, the choice used to be made by your license.
Right. Well, there's some of that is made.
And, you know, everyone thought I was, you know, an asshole for railing against all of the holes that were punched in the brew pub and production brewery licenses in Illinois. But this is sort of the end result here, where I think the choice, you know, you kind of have to decide what you're gonna concentrate on. And I'm not gonna buy beer from a brewery that is, you know, serving barbecue and has a beer garden down the street from me. Like, why would I do that? Mm-hmm. You know, doesn't make sense to me. I don't, you know, All Cheval's got killer hamburgers, but I don't buy their hamburgers and resell them at Kaiser Tiger, you know? And
Right.
I'm not going to do that to a competitor down the street who is, you know, most certainly taking business. So, you know, I think that's becoming more and more apparent to operators on my end, and they're responding in, you know, the way they're responding. It's an issue, I think.
What specifically? That
People are
they're-
blurring the lines between being a vendor of mine and a competitor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I do think it is. The lines are definitely blurred. How blurred? Yeah. I mean, I guess it depends on your location and who's next to you.
You're
and
right.
Stuff like that.
But they used to be much clearer before the Brewers Guild decided they wanted, you know, to do nothing but have more breweries.
Yeah.
And that's what it allowed. It allowed, you know, suddenly we have however many breweries in Illinois.
Yeah. I mean, when you know, Maplewood now, I mean, we don't really put a lot of their beer on draft. We do events with them where they'll do kind of like day zero, day of kind of stuff where that's, okay, we're bringing it like day of, we're packaging it, bringing it over. We'll do it maybe, you know, once a month and stuff like that. But, I mean, we don't do a ton of Maplewood stuff for exactly that reason. I mean,
Yeah, we
people
still
all the
sell their
time
beer,
leave here.
Despite their crawfish boil on the same day as our crawfish boil.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
What could compare to your crawfish boil, though? Nothing.
Well, it was a good one.
Exactly.
Danny Beck did it, so, you know, I'm sure it was quality crawfish.
Yeah.
I'm not knocking that, but, you know, we do one once a year, the same day every year.
Right.
And then our brewing partner, you know, who we sell a ton of beer from, is throwing a crawfish boil on the same day. Like, these are the things that didn't used to happen. It didn't used to be an issue. There were clear lines. It's a 3-tiered system. I can't open a brewery. I can't open a production brewery because I own a liquor license. But they seem to be able to open a bar
And have a crawfish boil.
and self-distribute. They have all 3 tiers.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I do think that it's an issue. And I think you can speak with who you buy from.
Exactly. So, you know, and that's what I did. And, you know, some people are not happy with me. Mike's really giving me the stink eye right now. I love Mike's beer. I buy Mike's beer all the time.
Yeah.
Great beer.
Well, we also do
I mean,
something.
When are you putting in that curling?
When he delivered, yeah.
Yeah, when he's
Curling court coming in.
when is curling coming
in
in?
the winter.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
yeah.
Good.
Yeah, I'm gonna draw.
Yeah, we're having a big beer garden, and we're gonna get a cat named Sausage.
Good.
Hang out in the back.
Good.
That
Awesome.
I actually encourage that. I would love to see sausage.
We are gonna get a couple cats, but
Good idea.
don't tell our landlord.
I have a kind of off the cuff question for Greg. As someone who's been in brewing forever, has a lot of experience with historical styles, even American kind of historical styles. You know, early styles that may have gone away.
Black IPA.
Right. or the
Cascadia.
what is it?
Cascadian
Kentucky
Dark, yeah.
Brown Ale or
Kentucky Common.
Texas Brown Ale. Sorry, are there
Brewed
any
IPA. I remember that one.
Are there
That was
any
great.
styles?
That was the day.
Are there any styles that you wish you could get more of, or more good examples of
North
out there, or are
German
you
lager.
just happy with kind of the state of things right now? Or if there's one style, you got to pick one. I take it back. You can't be happy. There's got to be one style.
An American style? Or
No,
just-
any style, any style of beer at all.
English IPA. The most famous example that I know and used to come here was Worthington White Shield. I think it was brewed in Burton. I don't know. I think it was brewed by
Yes.
Bass, but not
Yes,
positive.
it was at some point. It was definitely was.
What a great beer! And I used to buy when it was available here. I'd buy bottles, and just a phenomenal beer. I guess they don't make it anymore. So I started brewing an English IPA, but I kind of modernized it. I used more modern English hops, but I don't even think there's a brewery in the UK that makes a real traditional, like throwback English IPA. I mean, Green King makes an IPA, but it's
Yeah,
like
but-
3% or something.
Yeah, that's not really an IPA.
So yeah, I would like to see more English IPAs.
That's a good answer. I heard a rumor. I don't know. It's truly a rumor. I don't know how true it is. That Thornbridge may be coming back, and they would be pretty
Yes.
close.
They make great beer.
They make
Yeah.
great beer, so that would be awesome to see if we can get some Thornbridge, some Jaipur
Yeah,
IPA.
I remember that one. Yeah,
Yeah. So, yes.
Trent Bridge. Yeah.
Any? How about you, Pat? Any style that you wish that you'd like to see come back?
Oh, jeez.
Rauch beer.
Rock beer never left.
Hasn't
maybe.
gone anywhere.
Yeah, right.
Lenten beer.
I'm seeing
It's
more.
exactly where it was.
Hey, we
I
make
just-
a Lenten beer.
I'm seeing a way more Rauch beer than I ever have. To be
Yeah.
honest. Sparkling ale. Remember that?
Oh my
Cooper's?
God.
The sparkling ale, the Australian sparkling
Yeah,
ale.
Cooper's Sparkling. The first homebrew kit I ever got was for Cooper's Sparkling.
Yeah, Greg made one at Wegman Park.
Yeah.
Rooftop sparkling ale. So,
Yeah. It rears
That's
its
what you'd like to see come back to the Australian sparkling.
I just wanted to.
it rears its ugly head every now and again. I think Goose made one like not too long
Yeah.
ago.
What is it exactly?
It's bottle conditioned. That was the big thing.
That's
it was
why it's
always
sparkling.
bottle conditioned.
We have some Coopers in the shop right now.
Do
Actually.
you?
Yeah.
Well,
Check the date on that.
Just a bottle of thing.
But yeah, it was coming over here a lot at one point in the big, huge oil cans.
Really?
Yeah.
But what
We used
is
to
it?
sell the
What is it?
bottles.
What is an
It's
Australian
an
sparkling
English.
ale?
It's an English yeast, and it's very similar, I guess, to steam beer, where because you had the hot temperature in California, you had the hot temperature in Australia, so when they would tap these hogsheads, it was very lively, so they would call it sparkling. So it's kind of like the Australian steam beer, I guess.
It's the original brewed IPA is what you're saying here. Highly carbonated.
Yeah.
And what are Australian IPAs or Australian pale ales? What are those? Because that was like a BJCP or BA style for a while. Because like Sculpin would win that every once in a while. or
Yeah, I have
something
no
like that.
idea.
Okay,
Wasn't that international?
maybe it was international.
Like that, where it's
Australasian
Australia.
pale ale, which I still have no idea what.
Like New Zealand and Australia.
Now there's the
hops,
XPA.
maybe.
What is
The
that?
XPA. Uh-huh. That's a New Zealand like style. The extra pale ale. I think it's
Is
like
that a New Zealand thing?
I thought
think
that was
it is.
Summit.
Three Floyds used
Yeah.
to.
Yeah, they used to
Tuna?
make
X,
that.
well,
Yeah.
XPA. The XPA. Is,
I would-
I
I would
believe
s-
it's a New Zealand-based style.
I thought tuna was an extra pale ale like 10 years ago.
Yeah, I know, but this thing called literally XPA, where
Got
that's
it.
how it's branded, it's totally different, dude.
Yeah, that's it, right.
You don't get it.
It's like Luker
You know what
versus-
else I think would be
versus Side-
like a Ballantines. Like if someone made like a good old school American
IPA.
like a Ballantine's kind
Yeah,
of throwback.
I
Don't know if I've ever had
I can
it.
honestly say I never had I've read about Ballantine's,
Yeah.
but I never had one.
It wouldn't
They
sell.
still make it, I think, but who knows if it's like
Oh, God
how it
knows, yeah.
actually, what it was. You know,
It's the original Chico yeast.
Really?
really,
Yeah,
Chico is based on Ballantine's.
that's where the yeast came from. Supposedly.
Oh, I had no idea.
There you go. Learned something new. Yeah. How about you, Mike? Any style you'd like to see come back?
I don't know. I'm not. No, not particularly. I think
Okay.
we're good. I think we're in a pretty good spot right now, to be honest. Like,
I'd like to see hoppy, malty beer. Not necessarily like black IPA,
barley wine.
but maybe like, American amber, American brown, something like that, where they were like brown ales with like a assertive hop character. Do I need them to come back forever? I'd like them to come back so I can decide if I want them to.
You want
to
like
stay.
a Dogfish 120 minute?
No,
60
but like
minute?
Indian brown
Indian
ale.
brown ale.
Indian brown
the
ale.
Indian brown ale. I
That was a
remember
good beer.
That was a good beer. Yeah.
I guess generally malt character back in hoppy beers is like a thing that we've really, really turned away from as like a brewing society in America.
You know what? I'm with you. I think that's kind of a little bit of what I was getting from Greg.
Yeah.
But also,
I think just malt in general is due for a comeback.
yeah.
Like so much stuff is just driven by like hop character. I mean, like which is great.
Go crack open an
Or
Alpha King, man.
acidity.
Do it right now. Great
Yeah.
malt character in that beer.
For sure.
Yeah. Now are we? Now may we leave?
Yeah. Can we,
Now can we get out of here?
Now, what
Can I
else do I
go
want to talk
now?
about? Yeah.
Yes.
Jesus.
Yeah, we're good.
Past my bedtime.
Yeah. So let's go around. Is there anything anyone would like to say before we get out of here? Mr. Berger?
No, just the same old stuff at Kaiser Tiger. We are building a winter wonderland at Kaiser Tiger.
What does that entail?
You know Callie. She is
Yes.
in
Your
full
manager.
speed. Yes, my director of operations is decking out the beer garden, and we're going to have a new hot drinks chalet or space.
cool.
Or, I think that's French for
Chateau.
shed. It's a shed. We're going to have hot
Ski
boozy
shed.
cocktails out there with the curling, and we're going to have a little bit of a Krampus theme out there. She was a lot of surprises. It's going to be lovely out in the beer garden this winter.
Are you gonna beer stock?
It's 80 degrees today, so
Yeah.
let's get ready for it. What's that?
You gonna beer stock Lenny B-Wiz?
Yeah.
What?
Exactly.
Guess not. Guy think
Jeez.
not-
Guys like
you
100 years
you
old.
think a guy cares
Yeah.
about serving methods and he's never
It's not
beer
gonna
stocked
be-
with a B-Wiz?
Right.
It's not going to be that cool.
Hey, bartender, beer stock on my B-Wiz ASAP.
My B.A.
It was a
B-Wiz.
classic. It was a classic commercial.
Spuds McKenzie?
Yeah.
I had a Spuds McKenzie poster in my room as a sixth grader in St. Louis.
I think I did too.
Yeah.
I think I had a Spuds McKenzie
he was
poster.
hanging 20.
Exactly. Makes sense. Makes sense.
No, beer stock was like the hot poker you put in the...
Yeah,
Oh.
you've done it because
Yeah,
I've had
yeah,
it at
yeah.
your place.
Yeah. Oh,
First time I ever
yeah.
had it was at your place.
Yeah, we call it the hot poker. Okay, this is America.
exactly.
You gotta use it in the
Car
B-
hole.
In the B-Wiz, though.
Yeah,
Yeah, the B-Wiz. I don't think that
Barley wine boomer.
sounds like something at a Diddy party.
exactly. Jeez, everything to you. All right, that can be your final word.
Yes, I'm leaving. Bye.
Greg, Tom.
I just wanted a little shout out to our new distribution partner, Glunz. I mean, we've been with them now for about a month, and they've been a great transition from self-distro to distribution with the whole Chicagoland area. And I'm really happy with how they've been working with us and been flexible and bringing their expertise and their customer base to the table.
Look at that. A shout
That
out to a
may be-
distribution.
That's
that
a
might
first.
be a first.
It's a first not only on this
Episode
podcast, but any beer,
341, I
any
think.
beer podcast. That's like the first one.
All right, then. Okay.
They
go,
all listen,
Go
you know.
Glunz. Yeah.
The
Shout out to
silent
Samu.
What up, Samu?
Yeah. How about you, Greg? Anything you want to say?
Thanks for bringing in Yaver. This is a delight.
All right. You're more than welcome. What do we have lined up for next week, Mr. Shalal?
Next week is the election day. So we're going to do a big politics pod.
Yep.
You and me, breaking down every electoral college vote.
We're going to do a video. We're going to have a big screen that's interactive, and we can like zoom in on the counties and see what
That'll
they're
work
drinking.
great on a podcast.
See what they're drinking there. We're going to do a video. It's called a vlog or a vodcast
We
or
don't
something.
have the
video
technology
podcast.
for that.
No, we don't.
We know we have Brandon Kearney. We'd figured we'd get someone who is not American on election day. Mm-hmm. He's an Irish-Belgian person, I think.
He's award-winning.
He is award-winning. So are we, though.
True.
And to be fair, we did it first.
That's true. I think we should kind of
Plan.
like be standoffish a little bit.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, too.
Yeah.
That's my natural state is to
I never noticed. That.
be very aloof.
So that's exciting.
The World Series will be over, but if you want, I can watch the like a replay of this game while we're talking to Brandon
Okay.
at 1 p.m.
Okay. Yeah, that'll be good. It's a day game.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank all our guests for coming all the way down here. Mr. Pat Berger and Cindy, Tom, and Greg from Art History. And we will see everybody next week. So long.
Remember this is what we wanted. Remember this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again. Remember this is what we wanted. Remember this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again. Remember this is what we wanted. Remember this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again.